Unbroken is a true story about a man named Louis Zamperini. He got in trouble a lot as a kid, but with the help of his brother, he became an Olympic runner. He ended up running in the 1936 Summer Olympics in Berlin, where he placed 8th, but set a record for his speed in the final lap. He was able to do this with the help of his muscular, skeletal, circulatory, and cardio systems. When actin and myosin filaments slide past one another, the sarcomere shortens, resulting in a muscle contraction. At the beginning of his race, Louis uses anaerobic glycolysis since there is a very limited amount of oxygen. After his anaerobic glycolysis system begins to run out, his glycolytic system kicks in for another minute or so. The most important energy system Louis uses is his oxidative system. This system uses the most oxygen and allows for a steady pace through the rest of the race. The muscular system and skeletal system go hand in hand throughout the race, because when muscles contract, the bones to which they are attached act as levers and move. Joints also allow the body to move because they provide flexible connections between the bones. During his race, Louis' heart rate begins to increase due to an increase in his respiratory rate because of a need for oxygen, and the heart begins to pump more blood. The circulatory system is then used to deliver the blood throughout the body. The blood contains oxygen and nutrients the muscles need for energy production. Continuing on, Louis is now on a rescue mission to find a lost plane when all of a sudden, his plane fails. The 6 members on the plane plunge into the never-ending ocean where only 3 members survive. However, on the 33rd day, 1 member dies. For 47 days, they learn to survive on inflatable rafts with little food and water, but very high sun exposure. They are able to survive this long with the help of the digestive, urinary, and integumentary systems. With very little food, the body switches to starvation mode. Glucose storage only lasts 24 to 48 hours before the body switches to a process called ketosis. This is a process characterized by raised levels of ketone bodies. Ketone bodies are produced from fatty acids and are used as the main source of energy during starvation. Eventually, the brain will need to start getting energy from the protein. Breaking down protein and releasing amino acids into the bloodstream will produce more glucose. Due to the lack of protein, the 2 survivors' muscles will slowly start to disappear and their metabolism will slow down. While the digestive system isn't necessarily hard at work on digesting food, it is hard at work on making sure the rest of the body knows to get its nutrients from other places. A decrease in the intake of water results in dehydration, affecting the urinary system, specifically the kidneys. The decrease in water is sensed by the osmoreceptors in the hypothalamus, which then trigger the kidney to secrete renin. This then forms angiotensin II, which targets the pituitary gland to secrete ADH, which then targets the collecting duct to reabsorb water. Since the kidneys will begin to conserve water, there will be less urine produced and it will be highly concentrated. The 2 survivors' bodies are still depleted of water, so their bodies begin to pull any water from excess fat and skin, resulting in the skin becoming wrinkled and dry. Due to the high sun exposure, the skin is bombarded with too much UV radiation and the rays begin to damage the structure of the skin cells. The body flushes the underlying capillaries with blood, turning the skin red. This extra blood carries cells that will repair damage to the cells. On the 47th day, the 2 men are captured by the Japanese and sent to prisoner of war camps, where Louis is strongly hated by the leader. After pausing for a second during work, the leader forces Louis to lift an extremely heavy piece of wood with the threat of being shot if he drops it. He holds it for a really long time and then, at the very end, uses all of his strength to lift it high above his head, proving the leader wrong. Louis is able to do this because of his brain's amazing ability. The frontal lobe of the brain is in control of a person's thinking and decision-making. The frontal lobe realizes that this is a life or death situation and decides to win. Louis is able to defeat the leader through this process we all know as mind over matter. Although the lymphatic system doesn't have a huge role during this time, it can be inferred that it is extremely weak. It has become weak due to the lack of micronutrients and the fact that the body is now consuming its own macronutrients. Over the course of almost 3 years, Louis's body endured more pain and stress than any person could ever imagine, proving that the human body is truly an amazing thing.